Thank you, Senator Hume. Senator Brown.
Thank you, Madam Acting Deputy President. I rise to join with colleagues in the Senate in expressing our sincerest condolences to those families and the friends that have lost loved ones during this horrifying bushfire season. To date, 33 people have lost their lives and tens of millions of hectares have been burnt. The fires are still burning, but it is fitting that this Parliament takes the first opportunity available to pay tribute to those whose lives have already perished. It's also important that we place on record our deepest thanks and admiration to those that have put themselves in harm's way every day, day after day, for weeks, if not months, to help and to rescue individuals and communities in extreme danger. The thousands of CFA, RFS and South Australian Country Fire Service firefighters have been truly remarkable. Their bravery and commitment have helped save many lives, thousands of homes and important infrastructure. But properties have been lost, businesses have been lost, tourist and accommodation venues have been lost, native animals have been lost, and of course people have been lost. And of course their livelihoods have been lost. In Tasmania, we've had fires in or near Scamander, St Mary's, Elderslie, Lachlan's and Swansea, along with multiple fires in the southwest Tasmania. Over 41,000 hectares have burnt since October last year. Property has been destroyed and habitat has been lost. But my home state has largely been spared so far this fire season from the devastating experience that has occurred on the mainland. I would like to place on record my respect and admiration for my colleagues, the member for Gilmore, Fiona Phillips, the member for Eden Monaro, the Honourable Mike Kelly, the member for Macquarie, Susan Templeman, who have been tremendous advocates, organisers and representatives for their communities in these terribly tough times, as has the member for Gippsland, the Honourable Darren Chester. There is a saying that goes, in extraordinary times we see ordinary people do extraordinary things, and so it is with these fires. Many of these ordinary people can be found working at our ports or on our ships. Tugs and a pilot boat from Eden provided safe harbour for those threatened by fierce bushfires last month. More than 80 residents from Eden, aged between 6 months and 92, along with 12 dogs, sheltered on the tugs, the Wistari and the Kuma. Crews of the tugs ensured there was enough food on board and organised games and colouring in competitions to keep morale up, whilst also helping out with other emergency tasks. The pilot boat Mersey and her crew assisted with many emergency call-outs and provided support and assistance throughout the emergency. Crews and tugs also helped with the transport of firefighters across Twofold Bay. Local tugs and their crews also provided invaluable assistance with the uplift of evacuees from Malakuta Beach to the HMAS Coolers and MV Sycamore. The supply boat, the Far Saracen, and her crew were tasked by the Victorian Government to deliver much-needed supplies of food, water and diesel to those 4,000 people stranded in Malakuta. These invaluable supplies were delivered by Australian seafarers, while the ADF ships and personnel were on their way down the coast to assist with the emergency relief and rescue effort. The diesel supplied by the Far Saracen was used to power local generators and fuel the CFA fire trucks so they could resume their vital firefighting task. The crew on the Far Saracen looked after a 7-month-old baby during the evacuation and made a swing on the deck for the little kids that were on board the vessel. I'm told the civilian crew of the MV Sycamore were so taken with the people in the area around Malakuta that they took up their own collection and made a substantial donation to the Malakuta Wildlife Rescue Organisation. The crew on the MV Sycamore took their role of helping the evacuees very seriously. Mick Kenny, the MUA delegate on the Sycamore, had the job of minding an evacuee's dog. Kangaroo Island ferries and their crew undertook an extraordinary amount of work to transport relief supplies to the island, assist with the evacuation and ferrying ADF equipment and personnel assisting with fighting the fires. These Australian crews and their vessels provided many, many instances of essential emergency relief and support during a time of significant crisis. Maritime workers are used to putting themselves in harm's way every time they go to work, but to learn of their extraordinary commitment to coming to the aid of others in a time of catastrophic emergency is indeed admirable. That is why I wrote to the Prime Minister last week requesting that he ensure that these hard-working, dedicated and brave seafarers who helped out during the bushfire crisis are eligible for the proposed National Emergency Medal. While today gives us time to reflect on sacrifices made by so many who have lost their lives, put themselves in harm's way to defend their communities and battle this emergency for weeks and months, it's also important to place on record the opposition's support and values that supports and values the role undertaken by all personnel, volunteer, professional, civilians in this emergency fire operation. It is our belief that we need to develop a more formal and coordinated civilian capacity to assist our communities in time of emergency. The experience of those crews in Eden, Malakuta and Kangaroo Island, to name a few, have prompted the beginning of a broader debate that will no doubt canvass options to develop a permanent civilian capacity to undertake large-scale relief and rescue operations. We are keen to ensure that the government and opposition work together to develop a non-partisan position on the development of such a response capability. I also would like to join other contributions in also supporting the call to Australians to visit these areas, to go down and spend a night down in the areas affected by bushfire. Not only those that have suffered fire, but also those surrounding communities that also experience extreme downturn and are struggling to be able to survive through this season and perhaps even to the next. So I join those senators that have asked Australians to visit these communities to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator